The night was quiet, but not peaceful. The wind blew softly across the rocky cliffs. Carrying the cold smell of stone and dust, at the very edge of the cliff, a young alien girl stood. Her small figure trembling against the vast emptiness below. Her eyes were red from crying. Her silver hair blew in the wind, and her thin arms hugged her body as if holding herself together. She looked down at the dark drop beneath her feet. It was endless, a pit that promised silence. She thought it was better than the voices that haunted her heart. The alien girl had been cast out by her own kind. They called her weak, useless, cursed. Every word they threw at her cut deeper than any blade. She had no family to run to, no friend to protect her. Alone, she had carried the weight until her spirit broke. And now, she wanted only to end the pain. She whispered to herself, "If I fall, it ends here." Her voice was barely louder than the wind, but in her heart it echoed like a scream. She took one slow step closer to the edge, her bare feet scraping against the cold stone. The ground beneath her toes crumbled, sending tiny rocks tumbling into the void. Her body trembled, but her mind told her this was the only way. No one would miss her. No one would cry for her. She was nothing, she believed, and nothing deserved nothing. But at that moment, a sound broke the silence. It was a voice not harsh, not cruel, but firm and alive. "Stop," the voice called. The girl froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She turned her head slowly, and her glowing alien eyes fell upon a figure standing a few steps away. It was a human. His tall form looked strange. Under the pale moonlight, his clothes were dusty from travel, and a pack hung on his shoulder. He did not move closer yet. He only raised his hand, as if reaching for her from afar. "Don't do it," he said. His voice carried a weight, not of command, but of care. The girl's lips trembled. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was bitter, broken. "Why not?" "No one wants me here. No one ever will." The human took a careful step forward. The ground was uneven, but his eyes never left hers. He could see the pain in her gaze, the hopelessness in her stance. And it pierced his heart. "I don't know your story," he admitted, "but I know this. If you jump, you give them victory. The ones who hurt you, the ones who told you that you are nothing, they win. Is that what you want?" The girl blinked. His words were strange. She had never thought of it like that. She looked back at the cliff, then at him. Her hands tightened into fists. "It doesn't matter. I can't fight anymore." She whispered. The human took another step forward. His boots crunched against the stone. The distance between them was still wide, but he knew every movement counted. "I've seen this before," he said softly. "I've stood where you are, looking down, thinking it was the only way out." The alien girl stared at him. Her heart skipped. "You?" she asked. Her voice cracked. "A human. You don't know what it feels like." His eyes darkened with memory. The wind ruffled his short hair as he nodded. "I lost everything once. My family, my home, my people. I thought I was alone too. I thought about ending it many times." His voice trembled, not from fear, but from truth. "But someone's words stopped me. Just a few words, but they gave me a reason to take one more step, and that one step changed everything." The alien girl's lips parted. She had not expected this. Her kind never shared pain, never spoke of weakness, yet here was a stranger, a human, confessing the same darkness she felt inside. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. The human's gaze did not leave her. His voice was steady. "Because I don't want to watch someone else make the same mistake I almost did. Because even if you don't believe it now, your life matters." Her chest tightened. Her heart raced. The words pressed against her pain. Shaking the walls she had built inside, she turned back toward the cliff. The endless drop, waiting below. The wind howled louder, as if urging her to decide. Her toes clung to the rock. One more step and it would all be over. Yet behind her, a voice called her back to life. His voice, human, firm, real. For the first time in many years, she hesitated. The wind grew colder as the alien girl stood frozen at the cliff's edge. Her breathing was uneven, her chest rising and falling with fear and doubt. The human had spoken. "Okay." His words cutting through the darkness around her. But still, her feet refused to move back. Her glowing eyes narrowed at him. "Why do you care?" She asked bitterly, her voice cracked like glass, fragile but sharp. "You don't even know me. You don't know what I've been through." The human did not flinch at her words. He lowered his hand slightly, showing her he would not force her. His tone remained calm, steady, like a rope being lowered to someone trapped in a pit. "You're right, I don't know everything about you. But I know one thing: no one deserves to face their end like this." Alone, the alien girl's lips trembled, her fingers dug into her arms as if holding herself together. She shook her head. "Alone is all I have ever been. My people hated me. My family turned their backs. I was never wanted." The human took another careful step forward. His boots pressed against loose gravel, making a crunching sound that echoed in the quiet night. "And yet, here you are, still standing, still breathing. Do you know what that means?" He asked gently. She glared at him, her tears glistening in the moonlight. "It means nothing. It means I was too weak to jump until now." The human's heart tightened at her words. He could see the storm inside her, the endless battle of wanting to end her pain and yet still searching for something to hold on to. He took a deep breath, letting the night air fill his lungs. "No," he said firmly. "It means you are stronger than you think. It means that even when the world rejected you, something inside you kept you alive. That strength brought you here tonight. And that same strength can take you forward." The girl's eyes widened slightly. His words were strange. They pressed into her heart like warmth against ice. "Still." Her voice shook with disbelief. "Forward to what?" "To more pain. To more rejection. Tell me, human, what is waiting for me beyond this cliff?" The human looked at her with steady eyes. There was no lie, no easy promise in his face. "Only truth. I don't know," he admitted softly. "But I know this: if you jump, the only thing waiting is an end. If you step back, even if it's just one step, there's a chance. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Something will change, but you'll never see it if you give up now." Her throat tightened, her tears spilled freely now, running down her pale cheeks. Her legs trembled. She wanted to believe him, but the weight of her past crushed her chest. "Why are you even talking to me?" she demanded suddenly. Her voice broke into anger, though it was born of fear. Why would a human stop for me, a worthless alien girl? The human's eyes softened. He stepped one pace closer. Now, only a short distance away, his shadow touched hers in the moonlight. "Because I know what it feels like," he said, his voice low, "to stand where you stand, to believe there's no one left, to think the world would be better without me. I know that pain. I lived it." Her heart skipped. Her breath caught in her throat. She stared at him as if his words pulled at a secret thread inside her chest. "You?" she whispered, barely believing it. "Yes," he said. "Me." His voice did not shake. His eyes glowed with memory. "I lost everything once. I was ready to give it all up, but someone stopped me. Not with force, not with chains, but with words. Simple words that told me I mattered. And because of that, I'm standing here tonight, alive, able to speak to you." The girl's knees weakened. She swayed, her body trembling at the weight of his confession. She had never heard such honesty, never heard anyone admit they had wanted to end it too. To her people, weakness was shame to her. Suffering had always been silence, and yet This human dared to share it openly. Her lips quivered. What? What did they say to you? The ones who stopped you? The human took a slow breath, his eyes never leaving hers. They said, "Your story isn't finished yet, and I believed them, even when I didn't want to. And now I say the same to you. Your story isn't finished. You still have chapters. To live chapters you can't even imagine yet." Her tears fell faster. Her heart raced. Something inside her cracked, not in pain, but in release. She had carried her despair alone for so long, and now someone else was holding part of it. His voice was heavy, but not with cruelty. It was heavy with truth. The girl looked down at the cliff once more. The darkness below still waited, still, whispered her name. But now, another voice filled her ears. Louder than the void, warmer than the cold. For the first time, she whispered, If I step back, what then?" The human's hand stretched out again, his palm open, his voice firm but gentle. "Then you won't be alone anymore." Her breath shook, her feet trembled. Her heart battled between the abyss and the promise of something unknown. The silence stretched, the wind howled, and in that moment, her choice hung between life and death. And his voice, steady and human, was the only thing keeping her standing. The alien girl's legs shook. She stood at the cliff's edge, torn between the endless fall and the human's open hand. His words echoed inside her head. Heavy and strange. "You're not alone anymore." Her lips trembled. She stared at him, her glowing eyes wide with doubt and pain. "You speak like you know what I feel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But you can't. You're human. You don't know what it means to be hated by your own people, to be called a curse, to be unwanted since birth." The human's gaze did not waver. His chest rose slowly as he drew a deep breath. The night air was sharp, but his voice carried warmth. "You're wrong," he said softly. "I do know. Maybe not in the same way as you, but I have walked through the same darkness. I have been broken too." Her body stiffened. Her heart skipped as his words pressed against the walls of her despair. "Then tell me," she demanded. Though her voice was weak, almost pleading, "Tell me what you know of this pain." The human stepped closer, not rushing, but steady. His shadow stretched across the rocks, almost touching hers. He lowered his hand, his eyes dark with memory. "Long ago, before I found myself on this world, I had a family, a home, and a future I believed in." His voice grew heavier, his throat tight, but war came, and with it, fire and death. "I watched everything I loved burn. I heard the cries of my people until there were no more voices left." The alien girl's breath caught. She tilted her head slightly, her tears frozen on her cheeks. His tone was not of someone telling a tale. It was of someone bleeding out truth. "I thought I was the only one left," the human continued. His voice low. "I wandered through ruins, my heart empty, my body broken. Every night I asked myself, why breathe again tomorrow? Why suffer another day when everyone I lived for was gone?" Her chest tightened. The words wrapped around her like chains, not binding her, but binding her pain to his. She whispered, "And did you try to end it?" He closed his eyes. His hand shook slightly as he admitted, "Yes, I thought about it many times. I thought of leaving the world the same way you stand ready now. I thought there was no reason to stay." The alien girl felt her knees weaken. Her voice cracked. Then, "Why didn't you?" The human opened his eyes again, steady and strong despite the storm behind them. "Because one person spoke to me," he said, "someone who saw me when I thought I was invisible. They said words that were simple but heavy. They said, 'Your story isn't finished yet.'" The girl's tears fell again. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Your story isn't finished yet," she repeated, the words trembling on her lips. "Yes," he said, Nodding, those words pulled me back from the edge. They gave me one more reason to take a step, just one, and that one step led to another, until I was no longer standing over a cliff, but walking forward again. I didn't know where I was going, but I was alive, and that mattered. The alien girl turned back to the cliff. Her glowing eyes stared into the abyss. The darkness below still whispered, still tempted her. But now another voice echoed louder in her heart. A human voice carrying scars and strength. Her lips quivered. But I am not you. I am no warrior. I am not strong. I don't think I can take that step. The human stepped forward again. Now close enough that she could see the lines of pain carved into his face. Neither was I, he admitted. I was weak, broken, and ready to vanish. But strength is not born in silence. It is born when you choose to face tomorrow, even when you don't want to. That is the only fight that matters. She shivered. Her arms wrapped tighter around her chest. Her voice was barely a whisper. Why tell me all this, human? Why share your wounds with me? His expression softened. His voice trembled with truth. Because I don't want to watch someone else make the same mistake I almost did. Because even if you believe your life is worthless, I know it isn't. You have not seen what your future holds. You don't know the lives you might touch, the changes you might bring. I can't let that chance vanish tonight. The alien girl's vision blurred with tears. Her breath came in. Short, sharp gasps. Something inside her shifted. Something fragile but real. It was not hope yet, but it was the spark of it. The whisper of it. She stared at him, her voice weak. If I step back, human. If I trust your words, what then? What happens to me? He raised his hand again, his palm open, steady as the night stars. His voice was clear, firm. Carrying the weight of promise. Then you walk forward, not alone, but with me. Her heart raced, her legs trembled. The abyss still called. But the human story had wrapped around her soul. His pain was real, his scars were real. And if he had survived, maybe, just maybe, she could too. The silence stretched. The night watching them both, and in that moment, her choice hung between ending her story or believing it was not yet finished. Asterisk, the alien girl stood frozen, her body trembling in the cold wind. Her eyes darted between the dark abyss below and the human's steady hand stretched toward her. Her chest ached as if a storm lived inside. Her voice was weak, barely louder than the night breeze. If I step back, what then? The human's eyes did not leave hers. His face was calm but full of sorrow and truth. His open hand did not shake. His words carried warmth that seemed out of place in the freezing air. Then we face it together, he said gently. Your pain, your fears, your tomorrow. You won't face it alone anymore. Her breath caught. The words struck her heart like arrows. She had been told her whole life that she was worthless, that she was cursed, yet this human spoke as if her existence carried weight. Her lips quivered. Why would you risk yourself for me? The human took a careful step closer. His boots pressed against loose stone, and tiny pebbles slipped into the void below. His voice remained calm, steady, because no one should carry the weight of despair alone. I know what it feels like to stand where you stand. And I won't let you fall if I can stop it. Her glowing eyes filled with tears again. She wanted to believe him, but her memories pulled her back. Memories of voices mocking her, faces turning away, doors shutting in her face every time she had reached out for help. The world had only pushed her deeper into loneliness. Together, she whispered, as if the word itself was dangerous. I don't know what that means. The human's voice softened. It means when you feel weak, someone will be there to hold you. It means you don't have to fight the darkness inside by yourself. It means that tomorrow doesn't have to be faced alone. Her arms tightened around her body. Her toes still clung to the cliff's edge. One more lean forward, and she would be gone. Yet his words pulled at her heart, making her question the decision she thought was final. The silence stretched between them. The night was heavy, the stars watching quietly. The alien girl's voice broke the stillness. What if I take your hand and regret it? What if the world hurts me again? What if you leave me like the others did? The human's eyes softened further. His hand never dropped. His voice was clear, firm. Then I promise you this. I will not turn my back on you. You may not trust me yet, and that's all right. Trust is not built in one night, but let this be the first step. Her tears blurred her vision. The cliff swayed before her, her knees weak. Her heart whispered that he might be lying, that all kindness was a trick. But another voice inside, a fragile whisper she had buried long ago, told her this human was different. His words carried scars. His eyes carried truth. She whispered again, I don't know if I can. The human nodded slowly, his hand still stretched out, his patience endless. Then don't think about forever, he said softly. Think about one step, just one step. Back, that's all I ask. Just one choice tonight, and tomorrow we'll face what comes. Her breath hitched, her chest rose and fell in rapid rhythm. She stared at his hand, the lines, the dirt, the strength. It looked so different from her own, yet somehow it looked safe. The wind roared, dust swirling around them, as if the night itself demanded her decision. The abyss below whispered her name, promising an end to her pain. But above that, louder, stronger, was the human's voice, steady and unwavering. Her lips trembled. Her heart beat so loud she thought he could hear it. Slowly, with a shaking hand, she lifted her arm. Her fingers quivered in the air. She hesitated, fear chaining her in place. Trust me, the human whispered. His voice was not a command, but a plea. Not for himself, but for her. Her hand hovered, inches from his. The night stretched into eternity. Then, finally, her trembling fingers brushed his palm. The human's hand closed around hers. Firm, warm, alive. In that instant, the abyss behind her lost its hold. For the first time, someone had caught her. Before she could fall, her knees gave way, and she stumbled forward. The human pulled her gently away from the edge, holding her steady. Her tears poured freely, her body shaking. But she was not falling, not anymore. She collapsed against his chest, her voice breaking into sobs. Years of pain and silence crashing out all at once. The human held her, his hand steady on her back. His words soft in her ear. You're safe now. You're not alone. Her heart throbbed with pain, but also something else, something unfamiliar. It was not hope yet, but it was the beginning of it. The fragile seed of trust. The night sky stretched above them, vast and endless. The abyss still yawned behind them. But she no longer looked at it. Her eyes, red and swollen, turned toward the human who had stopped her for the first time in her life. She whispered words she had never dared. Thank you, human. And though the storm inside her still raged, for the first time, there was a flicker of calm. A fragile beginning, asterisk. The alien girl's knees trembled as the human's hand closed around hers. His grip was firm, but not forceful, strong, yet gentle. She stumbled forward, away from the cliff's deadly edge. Her chest heaved, her sobs breaking the silence of the night. For so long she had stood alone, unseen and unwanted. But in this moment, someone's arms held her, keeping her from falling. The abyss was still behind her, whispering with cold promises. But now, for the first time, she felt another presence. Louder than the void, her glowing eyes squeezed shut as she pressed her forehead against the human's chest. His warmth was strange to her. It was steady, alive. It told her she had not stepped into nothingness, but into something real. The human did not speak at first. He only held her, letting her tears soak into his worn clothes. He knew she needed to release the weight she had carried for so long. His hand rested on her back, moving slowly, not in control, but in comfort. When her sobs grew softer, his voice finally broke the silence. "You did it," he whispered. "You chose life tonight. You chose to take one step back that is stronger than any leap into the dark." Her lips parted, her breath trembling. "It doesn't feel strong," she murmured. "It feels terrifying." The human nodded gently, his chin brushing her hair. "It always does. The hardest thing isn't falling. It's choosing to keep standing. You were brave enough to take that step. And that makes you stronger than you know her." Tears flowed again, but this time there was something different in them. They were not only born of despair, but of release. Of the strange relief that came from being caught when she expected only to fall. Minutes passed in silence, the night wrapping around them. The stars above blinked like distant eyes, watching the fragile bond forming on the cliff. The alien girl finally pulled back slightly, her glowing eyes meeting his. Her face was streaked with tears, but her gaze carried a question. "Why didn't you let me go?" She asked softly. "It would have been easier for you to walk away. You don't even know my name." The human studied her for a moment, his eyes steady and kind. "Because names don't matter when a life is at stake," he replied. "Because I know the pain of standing at the edge, and I would never let anyone face it alone, not if I can help it." Her lips trembled. She wanted to argue, to push his kindness away like she always had. But the truth pressed hard in her chest. He had saved her when no one else cared. She looked down at their joined hands, her small, trembling fingers in his larger, steady grip. Slowly, almost shyly, she whispered, "My name is Lyra." The human's eyes softened. "Lyra," he repeated, as if testing the sound. "It's a strong name." Her heart skipped at the way he said it, as though he was the first to ever speak it without contempt, without cruelty. She swallowed hard. "And you? What do they call you, human?" He smiled faintly. "Daniel," he said. "My name is Daniel." Lyra whispered the name to herself, holding on to it as if it were a rope in the storm. Something inside her stirred. Fragile, but alive. Daniel released her hand slowly, only when he felt she would not collapse. But his voice remained close, steady. "You don't have to decide everything tonight. Lyra, you don't have to be healed. You don't have to be whole. But tonight, you proved that. You can step back from the edge, and that is enough." Her chest rose with another shaky breath. She nodded weakly. "Enough," she repeated. The word strange, but comforting. For the first time in years, she felt something flicker inside her chest. Not hope, not yet, but the faint warmth of safety. Daniel stood by her side, his gaze fixed on the dark abyss behind them. "That cliff will always be there," he said quietly. "It will always call when the pain feels too heavy. But remember this tonight. You defeated it. You won against it. And tomorrow, if it calls again, you can win again, one step at a time." Lyra shivered. Not from the cold, but from the weight of his words. She glanced back at the cliff, the same place she had been ready to give her last breath. But now it looked smaller somehow, less powerful, because she had turned away. She whispered, "I don't know what tomorrow brings." Daniel nodded. "Neither do I, but we'll face it, side by side." The girl's eyes widened slightly. Her heart raced at his promise. She wanted to believe it, though doubt still clawed inside her. Yet when she looked into his eyes, saw no lie, no shadow of trickery, only the reflection of her own pain and his will to share it. The night wind blew past them, scattering dust and carrying the sound of their breathing into the darkness. Together they stepped farther from the cliff, away from the abyss that had almost claimed her. Each step felt heavy, but it was real for the first time in her life. Lyra did not feel invisible. She did not feel like a curse. Someone had called her by her name without hatred. Someone had caught her when she thought she would be lost. Her heart whispered quietly, almost afraid to believe it. Maybe she was not worthless. Maybe her story was not over. And as she walked beside the human into the shadows of the night, she realized that the first step back had not been away from life, but toward it. The night grew quieter as Daniel and Lyra walked away from the cliff. Their steps were slow, heavy, but each one carried them farther from the edge of despair. Lyra's hand trembled at her side, but her heart beat differently now. Not only with pain, but with the faint sound of something new possibility. For the first time in her life, someone had stood beside her. For the first time, she had stepped back instead of forward, yet deep inside, a shadow of fear still lived. She wondered how long this feeling would last. She wondered if the world would let her keep it. Daniel glanced at her as they moved across the rocky path. "How far is your village?" he asked gently. Lyra's eyes darkened. Her voice was bitter. "Too close. I wish it was far enough to forget." Daniel frowned, sensing the weight behind her words. "What happened there?" She hesitated, her throat tightened. But then she forced the words out. "They called me cursed. They said I brought misfortune. Children threw stones at me. Elders turned away their eyes. Even my family cast me aside. To them, I was nothing. But shame." Daniel's chest tightened, his jaw clenched. "Then they were blind," he said firmly. "They couldn't see who you truly are." But before she could answer, voices broke the night silence. Harsh, mocking, familiar to Lyra's ears. A small group of aliens appeared from the shadows of the path. Their glowing eyes caught the moonlight. Cruel and sharp. "Well, look who it is," one sneered, "the cursed girl, still walking among us. I thought you'd be gone by now." Another laughed, his voice cold. "Maybe she tried, maybe she failed. She always fails." Lyra froze. Her body stiffened, her heart pounding. The faces before her were ones she knew well. The same ones who had tormented her since childhood. Her legs felt weak, as if the ground itself wanted her to sink into it. Daniel stepped forward, his broad frame shielding her. His voice was calm, but carried strength. "Enough, leave her alone." The aliens laughed louder. "And who is this? A human? Her pet? Or maybe her pity companion?" Their cruel words cut into Lyra like knives. Her glowing eyes filled with tears again. Her lips trembled. She wanted to shrink, to vanish, just as she always had when faced with their cruelty. But Daniel did not move aside. His stance was solid, his voice firm. "She is not cursed. She is not worthless. She is someone worth standing for, and I will stand for her." The alien sneered. "You defend her. Then you must be just as weak, just as pathetic." Daniel's eyes narrowed, his hand clenched at his side, but his voice never broke. "If caring for another is weakness, then I'll be weak. If protecting someone from cruelty makes me pathetic, then I'll gladly wear that name. But no, this she will not face you alone again." The mocking smiles faltered slightly at his tone. His words struck harder than they expected. They glanced at one another, whispering, uncertain. Behind Daniel, Lyra stared at him in shock. No one had ever spoken for her like this. No one had ever stood tall against the words that had crushed her spirit for years. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from something new, something fierce. Her trembling lips formed a whisper. "He's different." The lead alien spat on the ground, glaring at Daniel. "This isn't over, human. You can stand in front of her tonight, but you won't always be there. One day, she will be alone again. And then she'll learn her place." Daniel's voice dropped low, carrying an edge of steel. "As long as I breathe, she will never stand alone." Remember that? The group grumbled, their pride wounded. Slowly, they backed away into the shadows. Their cruel laughter fading with the night wind. Silence returned. But the air still vibrated with the tension left behind. Lyra's body shook, but not from fear alone. She looked at Daniel, her glowing eyes wide, tears shining. Why? Why did you do that? You could have walked away. You could have left me to them like everyone else always did. Daniel turned to her, his expression steady. Because you don't deserve their cruelty. You never did, and someone needed to tell you the truth. The way they treated you was wrong, Lyra, but that is not who you are. Her lips trembled, her voice cracked. But all my life, I believed them. Every word, every insult. I thought they were right. I thought I was nothing. Daniel stepped closer. His hand brushed her shoulder, firm and reassuring. You're not nothing, Lyra. You are still here, still breathing, still standing. That means you are stronger than all of them combined. Her chest shook with sobs. But they were different from before. They were no longer only cries of despair. They were cries of release, of a heart slowly breaking free from chains. She whispered, You fought for me. Daniel, no one ever fought for me. He gave a small smile, his voice gentle. Then let this be the first time, but not the last. The night stretched around them, but the shadows no longer felt as suffocating. The voices of cruelty had faded, replaced by the echo of words that defended her, words that gave her strength. For the first time, Lyra saw herself not as cursed, not as unwanted, but as someone worth standing for. Someone worth protecting. And though the road ahead was still filled with unknowns, she realized that the world against her was no longer as powerful. Not when one human stood by her side. The path stretched before them, dark and uncertain. Lyra walked beside Daniel, her glowing eyes still wet from tears, but there was something new inside them. A faint spark that had not been there before. Her steps were unsteady, but each one carried her farther away from the edge of despair. The memory of the cliff lingered. In her mind, she could still feel the cold wind pulling her, still hear the abyss whispering her name. Yet now another voice echoed louder, Daniel's voice, strong and steady, reminding her that she was not alone. For a long while they walked in silence, only the crunch of their footsteps filling the night. Finally, Lyra spoke, her voice soft. Why do you stay with me, Daniel? You could walk your own path, free from my burden. Daniel glanced at her, his eyes calm. Because I don't see you as a burden, Lyra. I see you as someone who deserves a chance. Someone whose story is still being written. Her heart throbbed. At his words, she lowered her gaze, her silver hair falling across her face. But what if I fail again? What if tomorrow I am too weak? Daniel's voice carried warmth as he answered. Then I will be there, and if you fall, I'll help you stand again. That's what it means to walk together. Her steps slowed. She stared at him, her lips trembling. Walk together. She whispered, as if tasting the words for the first time. The night sky opened above them, stars glittering like fire scattered across the black. Lyra tilted her head upward, watching them. Her glowing eyes reflected their light. For so long she had looked at the stars only to ask why she existed at all. Now, for the first time, she wondered what else might be waiting beyond them. They reached a quiet hill where the land stretched wide and open. Daniel sat down on a rock and motioned for her to sit beside him. She hesitated, then lowered herself slowly, her body still trembling from everything that had happened. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Lyra whispered, When they mocked me, when they laughed, I wanted to vanish, but you stood for me. Daniel, you didn't even know me, yet you faced them. Why? He looked at her seriously, his voice steady. Because no one had the courage to stand for me when I needed it most, and I promised myself. If I ever found someone at the edge like I was, I would not stay silent. That promise brought me to you." Her chest ached, her heart beat fast. She had always believed she was worthless. But this human's words painted her differently, he saw. Her not as a curse, but as someone worth saving. Slowly, she whispered, "Then maybe." "Maybe I was meant to meet you." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe we were meant to find each other." Silence filled the air again, but this time it was not heavy. It was peaceful, almost comforting. The world around them seemed less cruel, less cold. After a while, Lyra spoke again, her voice trembling but stronger than before. "I don't know what tomorrow brings, Daniel. I don't know if I can change, but I want to try. I want to live. Not for them. Not for the ones who hated me. But for myself." Daniel's eyes softened. His voice carried pride. "That's all I hoped to hear, Lyra. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take each day as it comes. And now, you won't face it alone." Her glowing eyes met his. A small, fragile smile appeared on her lips. The first smile in years. It was weak, but real. Together, they looked out at the horizon. The first signs of dawn began to color the sky. Soft shades of blue and gold chasing away the night. The new day came slowly, but it came. Lyra hugged her knees, staring at the sunrise. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "I was ready to end it all. I thought I had no reason left, but your words stopped me. Daniel, you saved me." Daniel shook his head gently. "No, Lyra, you saved yourself. You made the choice to step back. You found the courage to live. I only reminded you that you had it inside all along." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were not tears of despair. They were tears of release, of gratitude. She whispered, still, "Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for being the voice that pulled me back. Thank you for giving me a reason to see this sunrise." The dawn spread wider, casting golden light across the hills. The darkness of night faded, and with it, the shadow that had held her heart for the first time. Lyra looked at the world not as an enemy, but as something she wanted to face. She stood slowly, her legs still weak, but her spirit stronger. She extended her hand toward Daniel, her glowing eyes fixed on his. "You said, we face it together. So let's start now." Daniel took her hand without hesitation. His smile was small, but full of strength. "Together," he said, and as they walked down the hill, side by side, the world ahead was still uncertain. Still filled with struggles and pain, but for Lyra, it no longer looked like an endless cliff. It looked like a path, one step at a time. The abyss had lost its power. Her story was not over. It had only just begun.